Secrets sealed in steel. Promises twisted by experiments. Step carefully, listener. You're about to go behind the vault door. Tonight's tale comes from deep beneath the Appalachians, where one vault, intended as a simple social experiment, found itself spiraling into a world where democracy was not a privilege, but a prison. This is the story of Vault 517, otherwise known in old pre-war proposals as the election vault. A place where every decision, no matter how small, no matter how absurd, was handed over to a vote. But as with all experiments, especially the vault-tec kind, what begins as novelty can all too easily become madness. And tonight, we begin with a man named Greg, a resident, a survivor, and perhaps the last thinking mind left in the vault. Greg never meant to become a storyteller. He didn't intend to chronicle the tragedy unfolding around him. But the deeper the vault sank into its own bureaucratic lunacy, the more he felt compelled to speak. His earlier surviving notes began on a lonely day, more than 3 years into the vault's isolation. He wrote, Day 1145. I don't even know how to describe what we've been living through. There was a time when we thought it was just a trial, a strange experiment. But now, it feels like this is all we'll ever be. A vault full of elections. A vault full of ballots. A vault where nothing gets done unless it's argued, debated, and voted on, until we all forget what the problem was in the first place. To understand Greg's despair, you have to understand what Vault 517 became. When the survivors first entered the vault, things were normal enough. The hydroponics room glowed with green promise. The kitchen smelled faintly of preserved food and recycled spices. People found bunks, smiled nervously, and made jokes about the situation. But vault-tec had other plans. A single announcement, buried in the orientation films, revealed that all social management inside the vault would be conducted through direct democracy. Every decision, every choice, every moment where one person's will might affect another's comfort or safety was to be settled by vote. At first, they treated it like a game. New overseer every week. New wall colors decided by slim margins. 1 month, someone even won the right to rename the cafeteria the Democratic Diner. It was harmless then, even fun. But by the time Greg begins recording his thoughts, the joy had long been replaced by exhaustion. Fast forward to now, he wrote, and everything is a vote. Every single thing. Who gets the first shower? Who gets the last roll of toilet paper? Who gets to carry the food trays from the kitchen to the tables? You can't breathe down here without somebody forming a committee to review the air. There was no tyranny in Vault 517. Only the tyranny of choice, and the endless, crushing weight of decisions that never mattered but needed to be made anyway. Greg described an example, one that still seemed to haunt him. Today we had an election about the menu for the week. You would think it'd be easy by now, but the Bacon Coalition wanted Brahmin steaks. The vegetarian movement demanded root vegetables. The flavor freedom fighters insisted nothing could be seasoned unless voted on, spice by spice. 3 days of debate. And what did we end up with? Gruel. Just gruel. Because no one could agree on anything. This was the new rhythm of life on the ground. Meetings, debates, votes, recounts, protests, and then, almost inevitably, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Greg's earlier recordings paint a picture of a community suffocating under the weight of its own procedures. Resource checks, once handled by trained technicians, were now assigned by public vote, usually to the person who least wanted the task. Shower schedules were once first come, first served. Now they were contested like political battlegrounds. Even the cleaning of the ventilation system required a committee to convene, evaluate candidates, debate qualifications, and ultimately delay maintenance long past when it was safe. And all the while, the vault, like any machine left unattended, slowly deteriorated. But the residents didn't notice. Not anymore. Not with the next vote always looming. Greg wrote about one moment, simple, quiet, and strangely devastating, when he first realized something was deeply wrong. I was in the cafeteria line when the lights flickered overhead, twice. The kind of flicker that would make you worry, but no one noticed. Everyone just kept arguing about a new proposal to change the seating arrangement so that the long tables could be spaced more equitably. The lights just dimmed again, and not a soul looked up. The vault was failing. Everyone felt it, but no one dared to say it. After all, acknowledging a problem would require a vote, and no one could bear another one. Greg's voice in the pages became heavier as the days stretched on. His attempts to speak to others resulted only in slow nods, glazed eyes, and weary promises to add it to the agenda. He wrote of a man named Roger, a once lively figure who had become a symbol of quiet resistance. Roger used to laugh, used to sit with us at dinner, and crack jokes about this place. Now he barely speaks. He's joined this group calling themselves the No-Show Coalition. They refuse to vote. It's passive resistance, I guess. But the rest of the vault treats them like they're traitors. A rebellion against democracy itself. Not with violence, not with sabotage, but with silence. Yet, even resistance requires a vote. A vault couldn't decide on how to address the non-voters, so the committees formed subcommittees, who formed discussion groups, who dissolved without making a decision at all. Greg watched it happen with a growing sense of dread. The more we talk about the problems, the worse they get. We're spinning our wheels, shouting into a void made by our own exhaustion. By the middle of Greg's first documented week, he writes about the shower situation, a mundane grievance that had become emblematic of everything wrong in the vault. You see, Vault 517 only had one operating shower by that point. The other two had been broken for weeks, pending a vote on whether maintenance required a refresher course or whether the refresher course required electing a refresher instructor. No one could decide, and so the shower became holy ground. Greg wrote, "You can't imagine the fights. People campaigning for a shower priority, like they're running for president. Factions forming. Posters everywhere. I've seen adults burst into tears because their shower ballot was invalid due to a smudge." He wasn't exaggerating. The vault's public records, what little remains, show whole days consumed by nothing but shower schedule disputes. Greg described the atmosphere as a slow suffocation. And in the margins of one page, almost as if he wrote it without thinking, he scribbled, "I can't remember what life looked like before the votes." That's the part that strikes the hardest. Not the bureaucracy, not the chaos, not even the slow decay of a community turning inward and downward, but the forgetting. The system that consumes every moment leaves no room for memories, no room for itself, no room for anything except for the next ballot. By the final pages of Greg's first notebook, his tone changes. Not angry, not yet rebellious, but something far more dangerous. Clarity. Maybe this is what vault-tec wanted. Maybe they thought if we could vote on everything, we stay united. But this isn't unity. It's noise. Endless, useless noise. And I can feel something inside me giving way. And in the last entry for the day, I watched Roger in the hall. He didn't vote today. He didn't even pretend to. He just kept walking. And for a moment, I envied him. Those are the words that closed Greg's first notebook. A quiet admission. A subtle fracture. Not rebellion, not defiance. Just the first slip of a man beginning to see beyond the bars of a cage he helped build. And it is here, at that fracture, that our first chapter ends. Because the next day, something happened inside Vault 517 that would shatter the illusion completely. Something Greg saw. Something he wrote down with a shaking hand. Something that would bring him to the edge of a decision no one in the vault had dared make before. But that is where part 2 will take us. To be continued.